I've always accomplished what I've set out to do one way or another. I don't care. And it's like I say to somebody, if there's a wall in front of me, I'm going to go around it, over it, through it, under it, blow it up, call in an airstrike, but I'm going to get it done. It depends on your passion and on your purpose if you're going to do it. If you're not going to, I've got a couple examples of things I've tried that didn't come out as good as I thought. And so I brushed them aside and I moved on. But I don't look at it as not being successful, but at the same time, I truly believe I did what I've always been able to do what I set out to do.
Yeah.
Because
determined.
because of the I was just going to use the word determination
Right.
and the perseverance. No,
Right.
Don't quit.
Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Loehding, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are so glad to have you. All right, so I am going to open up with this. Don't ask why, ask why not. Those words have shaped a life built on choice, faith, and relentless perseverance. My guest today was born and raised on a working farm. He learned early that nothing worthwhile comes free, everything is earned. Over the years, life tested that belief in ways few can imagine. Multiple near-death experiences, 73 surgeries, paralysis, loss, and pain that could have easily ended the story, but it didn't. Instead, it forged a mindset rooted in faith, resilience, and responsibility. The belief that no matter what life hands you, you still have options and that your future is shaped not by circumstances alone, but by the choices you make and the courage to keep going. And so, you guys are going to be, I think, in for an awesome story today. I'm so excited to chat with him. I mean, I'm rereading this again and I'm like, wow, this is just a lot. So, I am definitely looking forward to this conversation. But before I bring him on here, I do need to do a quick shout out to our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine.
All right. And with that, I do want to make a mention to head on over to startergirlz.com. I say this every single week. Why do I say that? One, because it's a great place to catch up on an episode. If you are missing one or just haven't had time to catch up, they are all there. You can go back and listen to them. You can also sign up for our community newsletter and stay in the know of what is coming out. And you'll know when everything's launching. And then, of course, if you are an entrepreneur or maybe you're aspiring or maybe you're right in the thick of it and you want to know what your number one success block is that may be hindering your success, well, guess what? I have you covered. There is a 2-minute quiz over there that you can take that will tell you what that block is and why it may be impacting your success right now. So head on over to startergirlz.com. And as I always say, do your thing. All right. So my guest today, I am joined by Jay Setchell, a Marine entrepreneur, a lifelong builder whose life spans military service, corporate leadership, and entrepreneurship. Driven by faith, discipline, and an unshakable belief in personal responsibility, Jay continues to stay actively involved in multiple ventures well into his 70s. His perspectives on success, purpose, and perseverance have shaped not just his achievement, but by survival, loss, and the daily choice to keep moving forward. So, Jay, I am so excited to have you here today. Welcome to the Starter Girlz show.
Hey, Jennifer, how you doing? It seems like we've been trying to get on for some time, so I'm glad to be here and finally make it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's been busy. I tell you, last week for our audience, he was scheduled to get on here and I had 3 episodes back to back. And funny enough, Jay, the one that I'm doing today, and I did one before this, was not my normal scheduled day to do them. This was the backup day, but we had 3 scheduled last week, and with our very first one, we had tech issues, and in the
Yep.
entire, like, latter part of the episode, the guy kept falling off and having to sign back. We just his audio would go dead, and so what was supposed to be it was a very great good episode, very good episode, but what was supposed to be very simple ended up being, uh, kind of a labored project. It just kinda kept going, and so sometimes we have to move things around and just kinda roll with it, and so here you are, Jay. We're excited that you're here today.
There we go. Well, that's called Murphy's Law, if you remember. So,
Yeah.
hey, sure, you go ahead and knock it out of the park.
Yeah, right. Okay. So we're going to start at the beginning of this because I want to talk about your journey. So I want you to take us back kind of where it's all began, your upbringing, early influences, what helped shape, how you see life today. Maybe walk us back a little bit through some of your journey.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack.
I know.
I
I'm
mean,
going to tell you, maybe we
uh,
do. I know. I was just thinking about that question because it's a loaded one, isn't it? So maybe we talk about, if we, I don't know, we got like let's say we're going to give ourselves like 3 to 5 minutes to get through this part because your journey is huge.
well, I was going to say, when you live 3/4 of a century and you're still going on, and I'm still very active, even though I've got one hand that works, but that's all
You
that
are
works. So,
active. You are, and you're even
but
in personality, I would say,
hey,
even in
it's just
personality.
not gonna quit. But no, born and raised on a farm, like you mentioned, and it was a big working farm. We did a lot, but I always learned, my grandmother, my dad's mom, they lived across from us, across the pasture, but she was Pennsylvania Dutch, so she was very, uh always had a lot of little sayings and a lot of little things, and she was always doing, and she'd get angry as heck, it's like, but the responsibility with cattle, with equipment, with stuff like that, I think that's I was always raised. My dad told me, he says, "I never want to have to tell you to do anything. I don't want to have to order you. I would just rather say, it looks like the weeds need to be pulled around the cattle lot fence. Okay. I should take that as a hint.
Take a
The
hit.
weeds need to be pulled. Yeah, pick it up and do something. And
Yeah,
that's something that so a lot of what I lived with and that helped me throughout my life was I came from the old school. I came from multiple generations on the same farm. Uh, and all the people around us, that's back in the days when people took care of your neighbors, took care of you, and if you caused trouble at their house, they'd spank you,
right,
and when you got home, you got spanked again.
right.
And I think that's what we've lost so much of is the basics. Get back to the basics and do it right. Do it now. Do it right. I mean, do it now. Do it correctly, and follow through. And just a responsibility that, hey, I've messed something up. We're not perfect. God's perfect, but we're not. So let's take a look at that and go from there. But from that into the military, that's when I had my first death experience in the Marine Corps. And then when I got out of that and rehabbed after, well, that took a year in the hospital, but I started some little businesses and they went really, really well. And then I got married, went through the corporate thing, did some other stuff, started some other businesses. And then they retired me when I was 41 from a senior management position that I had gone back to corporate life. And so during that time, though, so I was always solving problems. I mean, the biggest
Okay.
problems they had, I was solving, and because to me, it's easy to do, And I'm going to throw this out because I got asked this by another company that interviewed me about 4 or 5 years ago, and they said something about how can I compare my physical disabilities and what I've been through and what I've had to live with, compared to business. And this was a home building business we started we quit it 2 years ago. We started about 9 years ago, and we did well into the eight figures, all within 6 years. And I said, running a business in my mind is nothing compared to fighting for your life.
Right,
When you're
right,
laying in a hospital paralyzed, or you're laying in a bed for 8 months in traction in the Marine Corps, and you got third-degree burns, and you got all this other, there that you don't have any options.
right,
Where
right.
where when you run a business or an entrepreneur, you can choose who to hire, when to advertise, what product to handle, what service to provide, and so on. So a lot of that's what tempers a lot of my
Mhm.
and I'm older, I've lived it. I mean, I'm not talking it from reading a book or trying it. I've done it, and some of it's been 50, 55 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you say this too. I want to hone in on two things. One, my husband grew up on a farm in Montana. His family, they still
Oh,
own
okay.
own the ranch. It is a family. I mean, it's over 100 year they ranch business. So when you talk about kind of that I guess that culture, right? Like, so to speak, how you grew up. I can totally hear that because that's sort of how it was. I mean, we were talking about raising children. He was like, we just didn't do that. We just didn't do it because we were expected to be up and working in the morning at when the sun comes up. That's it just
Oh,
is me.
yeah.
So I can
Yeah.
totally resonate, with that piece of it. And I also want to say something about your fighting for your life. And I have never, I don't want to demean anything you said because I've never had to fight for my life. But I will say this, and most of the people that have been following me know this, that this whole podcast was birthed out of my whole thing I went through in 2012 because I got diagnosed with a rare nerve condition in 2012. And for 4 years of that, between 2012 and 2016, 17, I felt like I was fighting for my life to survive. Because nobody could figure out how to help me get out of pain 24/7. And I was on 6 medications. And so when that happened, it changed me. It
That
made me
does.
view the world very differently. It made me view life very differently. I will say that was I since then got diagnosed with another rare disease. It was equally painful, but I learned so much going through that first experience that it allowed me to get through the second thing much easier. And I will tell you that was the hardest thing I've ever done, probably much harder than running a business.
It
You
is.
so I when I hear you say that, I'm like, yes, it teaches you some massive resilience skills, right? Resiliency and
Yeah.
grit,
It's
determination, and when you have to do something hard, yeah. And I want to
yeah.
say that because I don't want to make light of what because you have definitely been through some things, you know. I think what I'm trying to say is I hear you. I hear what you're saying when you say that.
Well, I'd like to make a comment
Yeah.
regarding what you're saying, and when I say this, I believe you're going to see what I'm saying, and I am a pretty strong believer in the fact that most people do not understand the value of life that they are afforded to go out and do what they want or what life can provide for them and tie the word time into that because time is a luxury. It's a currency, if you will, that
Yeah.
we never know what the balance is. We don't know how long we're going to live.
Right.
So and people don't understand when you tie time and the value of time and this urgency of time into your life and what you can provide or what life can provide for you or you can help others with you have a different perspective when you've been dead or
Yeah.
when you're fighting for your life
Yeah.
and you can't explain it, there's no words for it.
Yeah, you can't unsee what you see. I get it. I mean, I haven't had. I did interview on another show I was on a guy that had had some near death type experiences, and similarly to what you're saying, that was kind of the resonating message. Yeah, I think anytime, like I said, you go through something that creates that transformation, it makes you view things very differently, and that's why it's crazy because I tell people, like they're watching this show now, and it's like this is not how I've always been. No, I mean, I grew up in a home where we were very cynical and for probably majority of my, I'm in my 50s now, but majority of my existence, I probably lived on a mindset of, this is happening to me. I mean, I just put a video clip out about how I went from victim mentality when I was going through this disease. And I had a doctor say to me, what were you doing at the onset of this? And at the time getting angry because I'm like, dude, like, no, I did not cause this, and then having that
Yeah.
hindsight later on to say, yes, I was contributing to some of that. There were things very much going on in my life at the time that it all started, And so I think it changes you and you're able to find the the gratitude, the blessing in the things that come
Well,
your way.
I heard you say that. In
Mhm.
my mind, I heard you saying it
Yeah,
gave me a different perspective. Gave me
yeah,
a different outlook. It's just what I went through. That's your words,
right,
I mean, and it does. I was
yeah.
like sitting here listening to you, and but a lot of people don't. They can hear the words, but they've lived it. i-
They
i-
don't feel it, yeah.
You don't feel it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyways, I wanted to hone in on because
Sure.
I'm not obviously never diminish anybody's experiences. I just when I heard you sound like I hear you because it does. It's and you have that conversation with somebody, and sometimes it's like you hit the wall because they're just not they haven't
No.
had that same experience, So want to ask you this. So you ask, you say don't ask why, ask why not. And I totally get this, but I want to hear from you. I want you to tell my audience this where you kind of said this mindset, how has it guided the choices that you've made?
Wow. I I don't think I've ever thought about failure. Um,
Yeah.
I've always thought about success. I've always thought about overcoming. I've always thought about taking on that challenge. So when somebody said, "Well, why would you want to try that?" This back when I was a kid, I'm going, "Well, why not? What do you got to lose?"
Right.
I mean, unless you try it, you're never going to know. So if you don't, well, anyhow, so that's pretty self-explanatory. But I think the mindset. Now I'm gonna throw a little thing out that I've mentioned before. Excuse me. Um, that back many years ago, about 40 years ago, I was out on the East Coast near Sea Island, Georgia, and they had on the ocean. They had these sail carts that you would ride up and down the beach on. They had the tires and the sail up, and you would guide them down the beach. And they can go like heck. And they had one for two people, and with my paralysis, they helped me into it. And I got into it. And we're cruising down the beach, and we're going south and we're doing probably 50, 55 miles an hour. The wind coming off the Atlantic is blowing us, and we're just whoosh. And all of a sudden, here, a little spot down the distance coming towards us is another sail cart, and it's going north in the same kind of cart. Well, it
Yeah.
was one person, but they were the same kind of cart. But I started thinking about it. We got back down to the south, and we turned around to head back north, and and the whole time I was thinking was how can the same boat, sail thing, buggy with the same wind on the same beach be going two different directions? Because when we went by each other at 50 a piece, and we're like 100 miles an hour. It's fast. But what is it that makes it do that? How can you turn around and go a different direction? Well, it's not the wind, it's not the cart, it's the set of the sail.
Mhm.
So why not the set of your mind? So that
Mhm.
is where I came up with mindset from the set of the sail. But and it really was very impactful because and then I heard a gentleman on another podcast that he was talking about. He didn't like the word mindset because he thinks it sets mindset. Two words means you set your mind.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I got it. But the thing is, it's not that. You can change your mind, but
Mhm.
just when you go to it, in my younger years, it was the word was attitude. It's just like I've got Marine Corps shirts that say attitude is everything. And that's the truth. It really
It
is.
is.
So
Yeah.
it's your mindset. Take the word attitude and change it to mindset. But that's where I came up with it. And that's kind of where back years ago was don't ask why, just ask why not.
Right.
That's kind of they all play off each other.
Right, right. No, I love that, and I kind of live by that same motto too, just so you know, and my mother would probably attest to that because even to this day, if somebody says something to me and they can't, like, prove that it can't be or it can't happen or which most time
Uh,
you can't, I'm gonna say, there is a shred of peace that could be wrong, and I'm either gonna go investigate, I'm gonna try, I'm gonna do so I'm just a pain in the butt, I really am.
I
It's
do that
like,
now. Yep.
I tell people, "You don't really wanna argue and debate with me because if you can't prove your point, I'm gonna find the loophole, and I'm gonna say, 'You haven't told me enough, and I'm gonna go look myself.' You're not gonna I'm gonna have to." And that and that's the thing, like, I wanna say this because I've said this throughout this podcast in different episodes. I've talked about the variety of people that come on this show, and not every single person that comes on here do I agree with everything they say. I really just want to I like the individual, right? That's what it's about for me. I don't want to have any kind of stigma placed on the type of person that needs to be on here. If I like the individual, right, then I bring them on here because it's like in everything I do, I don't ever like anybody to tell me that it has to be this way, that way, or it can't be
Yeah.
done. I don't roll like that. I'm always gonna I say I'm just gonna beat to my own drum. I'm gonna
Yep.
do things my way. So when I hear you say this, I get that and I love this. Don't when I laugh when I saw it, I'm like, don't ask why, ask why not. Because that's me. I'm like, you're telling me it can't be done. You haven't given me even a solid shred of evidence
Yep.
that it
Yep.
can't.
Yep.
And you haven't 100% proven that it can't be done. So why not? You know?
Yep. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I get it. I
Yep.
get it. Yeah, all my kids are kind of that way too. So it's kind of, my life is pretty interesting because we're all
Well, and when your kids are like that, or one or two of them even, it's like sometimes you go like, "Oh my god,
you do.
I
You're like,
shouldn't
what
have."
did I
Here,
create?
here I go. Yeah, yeah.
Apple
Or
meat tree.
maybe your parents said to you, "Wait till you grow up and have kids and
Oh,
see
they
what
did.
it's like." Yeah.
They did.
Okay. There
My
you
mother
go.
did. She's like, way too well, and it's funny too because my husband's he's pretty laid back, non-confrontational. It's so funny because I've got 3 children and, my oldest is probably the most like him, pretty she's a teacher, pretty laid back rule follower, and it goes down to have girl, girl, and then boy, and I'd always told my mom I never wanted to have a girl firstborn because I was afraid she'd be like me. Like, just we would no, no, God has a sense of humor. It's my son. It's the youngest that is like me. And so he's gonna be 22 in May. And so you can imagine we have moments where we are just like totally on, and then we have moments where it's like Clash of the Titans.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
like a
Yep.
war. But I think there's something incredible about this spirit because it's the fighter. It's the never give up. It's the I have to pave,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm talking about you, pave your own path, learn the lesson, get the lesson, right? Like it's there's you're going to find your way, you know?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's like, it's like back, you mentioned Montana with Northern Illinois. I mean, it gets 105 in the fall sometimes, and in the winter it's 35 below zero. So it doesn't matter. You're up before dark. You're out feeding the cattle. I don't care if you're 5 years old. You got a part to play. It
Yeah.
doesn't. There's no excuse. I mean, whether you got when crops go in, you got to fight it as fast as you can because of the weather. It doesn't. Don't come up with the excuses. Come up with reasons why. Okay. If it's raining out and you can't get in the fields, then you're going to be working on equipment. You're going to be running the welder. You're going to be taking care of stuff, repairing
Yeah.
stuff. There's always something to do, and some people might call that multitasking, but it's really not. It's always having a plan to work something in when you got spare time. And I want to make a comment about time. Time to me, I really I use the word hate. I hate it when people say, if you ask them what they're doing, excuse me, they're killing time.
Oh,
Killing
yeah.
time is a crime against life itself
Mm.
because it's the only thing you've got is time. So
Right,
don't tell me you're
right.
killing time. Always have something to do. It's like
Yeah.
I don't understand when people can sleep an extra 6 hours just because I was tired. Well, okay, be tired, but get up and do something.
Yeah.
There's light. At some point, you're going to come to the time, and you know what I say
Yeah.
when you were sick and you were ill. It's like, gosh, I wish I had the time, or I felt better and I could do more. Because you may not feel like that till you're on your deathbed,
Right, right.
but at the same time, just don't use this killing time stuff. Make
Yeah.
use of time. That's what God put you here for a reason.
Right.
Do something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know what I'm hearing when I hear you say that, it's that they don't have that, like, that passion, right? Like, it's that
Yeah.
fire and that's what I'm saying. Some of us, we've had those hard things, so we know, and
Yes.
I'm grateful.
I
I just
agree.
had this conversation with my husband yesterday. I said, I feel like all these crazy hard things come into my world for a reason, because I have a voice and somebody upstairs wants me to lean into that, to help people change, to wake up to life and to embrace it, because so many people, as you say, killing, I say go through autopilot every day, living for Friday, dreading Monday, and they just exist. You ask them how they're doing. I'm like, I'm here. I drove through Whataburger the other day. Started off at, I don't even eat those places. I got to back this up. I go to the gym. My son texts me because he's home. He says, "Can you bring me breakfast?" I'm like, dude, I have to be on a call at 10. It's 9:45. He's like, just go to the Taco Bell. I got him on the phone at Taco Bell. I'm like, what do you want? He needs a crunch wrap. We don't have breakfast. Sean, they don't have breakfast. I go to Whataburger. I get him food over there. I'm in the drive-through, and that woman says to me, "How are you doing today?" And I said, "Great." And I said, "How are you?" And she says, "Thank God it's Friday." And that's my point. Everybody just sort of exists through life, right? And I think that, if anything, we get done with this, that's going to be our message today, is about embracing life. Don't just settle, right? Like,
Well,
don't just settle.
yeah, and and just about when people say, "Well, I'm glad," TGIF as it started out, what, 40, 50 years ago. They
Hmm.
started, you know, no, don't thank God it's Friday. Thank God. If you're thinking thank God it's Friday, it's because you made it through to Friday, and now
Yeah.
tomorrow's Saturday. What can I do tomorrow?
Yeah. No, I agree with
You know,
you. I agree. You know?
I, time is so precious, and I,
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I agree with you. I agree. And it goes by so quickly. I say that now because my kids somehow have grown up on me so quickly. I don't even know how that happened. I was 20 not that long ago. And all of a sudden I woke up and I'm
so was
like
I.
53 now. And I'm like, how did that happen? How did 33 years of my life just go by like that? Like it just does. It goes so quickly. I want to ask you a question on success. And I feel like we've sort of kind of talked about this, weave this in the conversation already, but I want to hear you actually say this. So, you've lived through many chapters. We've talked about that: military, entrepreneurship, family, faith, adversity, all the things, near death, paralysis, all of this stuff. How has your definition of success changed over the time, from the beginning to now?
Uh, haven't I? I don't know that I have a change in the definition, because
Yeah.
I've always accomplished what I've set out to do one way or another. I don't care. And it's like I say to somebody, if there's a wall in front of me, I'm going to go around it, over it, through it, under it, blow it up, call in an airstrike, but I'm going to get it done. I don't care. It depends on your passion and on your purpose if you're going to do it. If you're not going to, I've got a couple examples of things I've tried that didn't come out as good as I thought, and so I brushed them aside and I moved on. But
Right.
I don't look at it as not being successful. I wasn't as successful, but at the same time, I truly believe. I mean, I did what I've always been able to do what I set out to do.
Yeah. You're
Because
determined.
because of the I was just going to use the word
Yeah.
determination
Right.
and the perseverance.
Right.
Don't quit. It's always too soon to quit.
Yeah.
And I say that at the end of my book as part of the title of the book. And it's like, it is. It's like when somebody says to you, and I'm sure you've been asked this, is how did you get down here? Where did you get here? You just said that about being older.
Yeah.
Okay, it's because you didn't quit.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's how it should be. I mean, anytime you're going to persevere through some, how did you get there? It's because you didn't quit.
That
Right.
the just you just can't quit. I told a gentleman out of Atlanta about 8 years ago. He called me. I heard I'd been dead multiple times and so on. In a conversation, I just said, in my opinion, if you're breathing, you better be moving. If you're breathing, you better be moving, because once you quit moving, you die.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And that's a fact. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Yeah. No, I love it. And in everything I'm hearing, I have on here, you believe strongly if it's to be, it's up to me. And it's crazy because I feel like we used to
Mm.
say that in Mary Kay all the time, like to our
Oh, did
students.
you?
Yeah. If it's to be, it's up to me, like, or at least I did. I've always kind of thought about that. And I learned that really heavily when I was trying to cure myself of that first disorder because I realized after about 4 years, and I can tell you the moment, like, where I was standing when that epiphany hit me, because I came out of my GI doctor at this point, and I remember, the PA saying, "Jennifer, you're a conundrum," and I was like, I'm gonna have to fix this. There's gonna be no because
Yep.
the disorder is a chronic thing, and so it ends up being a situation where, as you know, in medicine, that when things become chronic, there's only a limited amount of work of healing that they can do, and so my point to this is that it became evidently clear in that moment that I had 2 choices. It was going to either be on medication for the rest of my life, including opiates and anti-seizure meds. I was going to be on
Mm,
that, or I was going to have to make a choice to do something different, and that meant take it into my hands and
right.
research and navigate and do what I needed to do to thrive, and that's what I did. That's ultimately what I ended up doing, and I wrote a book about that as well, about that journey and what I learned in that process. But I tell you, I love this because I do think anything that we want to do in life, if we want to change our situation, and that's why you'll hear me say at the end of this about, in order to live the extraordinary, you must make a decision, right? You must start, and every start begins with a decision, because we are always one step away from doing something. It is our choice. We may
Yep.
not like the choice, but we have choices. And we have to decide how to pull ourselves out of those sticky situations, or we become bitter, become a victim, and become bitter.
Well, I mean, you just said decide how you're going to, or about pulling yourself out. First of all, you have to have the want to pull yourself out.
I would agree with you on that. Yes. I would agree.
And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And the word willing is a very important word in that because you have to be willing to want to do it,
Right.
or you're not going to have a commitment to do it. And
Exactly.
you know, so
I agree. It's your why. We just had this conversation in the previous episode. We were actually talking about businesses and finding your unique selling proposition. And she was talking like her number one step was, you got to know why you're doing what you're doing. This is it. Like, why you want to pull yourself out. Why, and
yep.
I realized, I'll tell you what mine was in the middle of this. At the time this thing started, my kids were 16, 12, and 8. And I missed 4 years of their lives. And what I mean by that is, sure, I still showed up, but I was high because I was on opiates. And I, to this day, still regret that part of my life because I was not at full capacity. And I was, like, I was the Homer mom, the PTA mom, the field trip mom, like, and running a business. And I was sick with the disorder trying to navigate. Right. And so that became my why, was I had to get out of that. Like, I had to get out of that situation because I didn't want my kids to see that forever. And I didn't want to, there's no way I was going to be living on opiates for the rest of my life. That wasn't going to happen.
No,
So,
I mean, I've had that opportunity to do what you're saying, live on opiates or do whatever, obviously. Uh, I had a lady come the other day and did a check from the VA, and she's, well, not from the VA, it's a part of the VA, but at
yeah,
any rate, she said, I can't believe, she said, that's all you've got for pills? Vitamins and supplements and vitamin
yep,
D3 and
yep,
extra vitamin C and I take one little pill a day to help with some of my spasticity
sure,
and stuff. But
sure.
other than that, I just don't. I could.
Right,
And they've given them to me for years, but I could either be a drug addict, I could, or my stomach would be rotted out, or I
right,
could be, like you said, not there. So it comes down to that decision of eat a little bit better, watch what you're doing, try to exercise. I kind of have a problem with that.
right,
I,
right.
I pick my arm up and drop
Yep,
it again.
yep,
I exercise my arm.
yeah.
But yeah, and it gets back to attitude. It gets back to
I was
willingness
just
of
gonna
what you
say that
want.
attitude, it gets back to the
Yeah,
attitude.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they've
So
even
much.
said, I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of what I talk about in my book, which, by the way, is right here. Beat the toughest obstacles. That's really what I talk about, is what I learned in that journey, because what I realized in my particular case was that, I had exercised for years when this came on. I was an aerobics instructor for many years. What I realized was that, yes, that stuff was happening, but it really came down to my attitude. That's when the shift
Hmm.
made a difference. When I moved from victim to I'm going to be solve this. And I will say this because I've shared this. I haven't shared it in a while, but I share it in here. I'm actually a keto certified coach, but I went keto hardcore. I had no idea what I was doing. I ended up at keto and I did it for 2 years hardcore, meaning I never cheated a single day. It took me 11 months. In the 11th month, before I one day was cleaning up in my bathroom and I had a moment where I did not have any pain in that moment, and I knew that I had a breakthrough, I was on to something. 11 months of doing that before I saw any shred of hope that what I was doing was working. And so, that taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about persistence and grit and just sticking with the plan and following through. And, but I think the biggest thing for me in that was it was when I changed my attitude. It was when I became a survivor and said I was no longer going to identify with that I was going to beat that. And yes, I still have it, by the way. It does not like plague me like it. I don't have to take any medicine for it any longer. It reminds me that it's there, but I am in such a different place than I was pre this. So I'm with you on all of these points. I think attitude is the tipping of the needle, whatever. It moves the needle into
Yep, yep,
recovery and
yeah.
and progression and everything that we're trying to solve and do.
Well, along with your attitude is staying busy. And there's an old,
Yeah.
my grandmother, there, the old Pennsylvania, she said, busy hands, busy mind. And
Yes.
that's so true because, it's like in my book, I talk a little bit, yes, it covers some of the medical issues and the problems and blah, blah, blah. But more than that, it's where do you find that strength within you? Is it in your upbringing? Is
Yeah.
it in your religion? Is it in friends? Is it in the military? Is it in this? Is it in anger? Is it in frustration? Is it in pain?
Yeah.
And pain
Right.
pain is a motivator for me because it motivates me to to stay busy, to keep your mind on something. And if your mind, like you had just mentioned something, that if your mind's on this and you're working at this and you're dedicated to this, you're committed to this, you're perseverant on this, all of a sudden your pain may still be there, but
Right.
you're not concentrating on it. So if you're sitting all alone doing nothing and whining and griping and moaning and groaning and you're thinking about it, it's going to hurt twice as bad as it probably really
Right.
does.
Get busy. Do something, right?
Do something.
That's exactly how I feel. It's like you have two choices. You sit in
Yep.
it and
Yep.
and you feel it heavy, or
Yep.
you get busy and it's not near as heavy. Okay, that's how I became a marathon runner. That's why I did it. That's why I did it because my pain was so bad that honestly, I talk about that. Like my pain was so intense that running actually, I still run, not near like we talked about before, not near as much as I did here, but it actually helped me get through that because it gave me something else to focus on in more ways
Sure.
than one, right? So get
And,
busy.
and and doesn't running, if I'm not mistaken, when you run quite a bit or as a marathon runner, you have the endorphins or something like
Mhm.
that kind of
Yeah.
supplements your feelings. So, you killed two birds with one stone, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your book. I want to make sure we get some notes in about that. So tell us a little bit about what that's about.
Well, that's you had your book there. That's why
Yep.
I
Show
did
us your
just
book.
got this yet. It just came yesterday.
Oh,
It's
good.
I don't know.
Yep.
It's
The strength within
the,
you. Okay. I see it.
yep, strength within you. It's always too soon to quit. And like I say, it covers what I tried to. I did I've been told I should write a book by many people that have, been uplifted by the story of resilience and what I've been through and so on. But I just didn't have the direction, and I had a gentleman here a year and a half ago, and he said I'm going to have Christy write it if you'll dictate it because I can't write very well and typing's out of the question. But it's more about, it does cover the, like I said, some of the physical issues and the deaths and the things, but it's more about finding, where do you find that strength within yourself, and how can you find it, and how can you identify it, and then how can you use it, your resilience, your grit, your determination, your courage, all of those, I don't know, words,
Yeah.
to overcome the adversities and roadblocks and setbacks or failures, or sometimes a success. A lot of people need help with the success,
Yeah.
not only either to be more successful, but a lot of people can't handle good
Right.
success.
That's
It's
true.
tough. It's hard because now you got other problems
Right.
that come along with the success.
Yeah.
And so, where do you get that? How do you find it? So that's kind of where it is, but it's been doing really, really, really well, and it just came out. And so but it's more, and it's not something that came from a little bit of thought. I had quite a few tears trying to remember things that I've been wanting to forget for 55 years from
Right.
dying, and it
Yeah.
was tough. And then when I read the revision, it was tough. It was like, oh
Sure.
man, I'd have tears, and I'm like, but everybody that's read it so far, I mean, has been, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
it just hits home because it's not, some of the people that speak, Jennifer, and talk to groups and such, they're good speakers. They they they
Right.
they got
Right.
they got it. They got a good message, but their message is something they've read or heard, or it's a
Right.
third party story. They didn't live
Right.
that
Right.
that message. They didn't live the death. They didn't live the blood. They didn't live the paralysis. They didn't, you know, and I think that has such a bearing on it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's almost inauthentic a little bit, right? Because it's not, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I would much rather, honestly, even like in mentorship positions and places where I've like worked with, I would much rather get advice from somebody who has walked through something that I am
oh,
trying to do or overcome than somebody who's I don't care about degrees and certifications and all
no,
of that
no,
stuff.
none, none,
Because
none.
to me, and I've said that even about coaches and stuff, and that's why I don't coach as much. Like I do more. I love this. I love having these conversations, and I do presentations. But I'm much more like I have a pet sitting business. That's my main gig right now, where I make most of my money because I love animals and I've been doing it my whole life, you know. But I'm with you. There's so many of these people, even like in the coaching industry, and I feel like they all to me, I just pick up on that right away. I can tell when somebody's doing something because it's in them. They've lived it, they have the knowledge, the skill, and I can tell when somebody is just no, they're
They're
telling me something that they've
smoking
learned.
you,
Yeah, they
smoking you.
yeah,
I've got a gentleman that stops by. He's 54 years old. He's originally from the Philippines. He's got a couple of small businesses locally,
okay,
and he was over visiting my father-in-law uh, over the acre here, or the acreage, and when he started coming over here, and about the third time I said, they call him Gibbs, and I said, Gibbs, what is it that, well, but we would talk about his business, we talk about this, we talk about that, and he says,
okay,
well, he said, I said, why me? And he said, well, because I learn more from older people because they've
right,
walked
'cause
the
they've
fire,
lived
and
it.
you
Yeah,
said that,
right,
and you've been through it. You've tried this, and 3 or 4 of the suggestions or thoughts that I've given him about, well, why don't you do this instead of this? And
yeah,
then look at the less number of trips, the more you can do at one time, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden he says, and now he's doing that, and
yeah.
he's doubled that part of his business
Oh, good.
because of just simple little things. You don't look at it from a different direction, or maybe a piece of equipment you can add
Mhm.
that simplifies the delivery of what he's doing,
Right,
but yet multiplies his abilities. And that comes from having been through it and thought about it. Maybe I didn't do exactly what he's doing, but
right,
I'm borrowing, as you mentioned before about something, borrowing from another learned experience. And
right,
when I broke my neck, and throughout that there were a couple of things, and one of them, that they had a round table with the doctors and nurses and the physical therapists, occupational, all that, the doctors, at one point. And one thing I used to talk about when I was after my broken neck and going through all that was what happened in the Marine Corps in particular, because it was so terrible. It was very, very bad. And they said, well, you don't need to, this is different. Well, it is different from a broken neck. I agree. But there's certain things you have to overcome
Yeah, there's certain,
that you have overcome before, maybe in a different way. Now,
Right.
can I apply any of that? Or is it maybe just the attitude of what you did then to get through what you did? Because one thing that's about time, when you're laying in the hospital dying, when you're laying in the hospital almost dead or paralyzed,
Mhm.
1 second does what? It turns into another second.
Right,
Does
right.
what? Turns into another second. Pretty
Mhm.
soon you got a minute.
Yeah.
That's 60 seconds. Pretty soon you got an hour. Then you got a day, you got a week, you got a month. And people lose track of, because I know you sit there doing things. You said, "Well, where did the last 40 years
Right.
go?" or whatever. Okay. That's exactly it. It's like, wow, where did those minutes just go?
Mhm.
But yet people will waste them or kill them because they don't feel like doing anything. So it's
Yeah.
a conundrum, to mention
Yeah.
conundrums.
Yeah. So as you were saying, the 1 second, all that, Ari Madrano, I did an episode with her a while back. You'll have to go listen to her episode, but she was on a kind of a deathbed type situation. She said almost exactly what you just
Uh,
said about, I didn't have a minute. Like it was like a
it,
second turned into this and this,
uh,
you know?
yes.
Oh, it was a good story. Another really interesting. She does a lot of community service work here now, but such a neat story. You need to listen to it because I think you're going to hear some resonating dialogue in that one too. Good stuff. Okay, so our audience, this book we just talked about, I'm sure somebody listening to this today is going to want to pick a copy of that up, or maybe they want to check out, who you are a little bit more. What website do we want to send them to?
Well, right now I've got they're getting back on my website.
Okay.
But it's called Never. It's another one. It happened to be available. It fits me perfect.
Yeah.
Never quit trying.
Okay. Never quit trying.
.com.
Okay.
Never quit
Perfect.
trying.com. But now
Okay.
the guy had to be out of the States for a while, so he's back and he's getting
Okay.
going on today. So hopefully in a week or so it'll be up to where we can at least start moving and they can attach some links to it and the book. But they can get the book at Amazon and I think Barnes and Noble, and I
Okay.
think, and but
Yeah.
but that's kind of where I'm sitting on it.
Okay. By the time this goes out, you'll probably have it up anyway, so we'll be okay. We'll make sure too it gets in the show notes. That way they
Okay,
can have it in there too.
cool.
I wanted to ask you one final question. And I feel like we've said this a lot over and over, but I kind of just want to hone in on it one more time. For someone right now who feels maybe broken, tired, just kind of in that place where they're like, oh, what would you say to them?
Get up and get going. Just get up and get going. You
Get up.
gotta just do it. And
Yeah.
that's it. I'm seriously. It just I don't care if your head's hurting. I don't care if you're not feeling well. I don't care if you're sick feeling. It doesn't matter. I'm sitting there today. I'm not feeling the best and I'm in pain. I've got another couple of problems. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and you're gonna be sitting in whatever's whatever, you're gonna be not feeling any
Uh,
better about yourself or anything that in your
mm-mm.
situation, right? I love
And
that.
it may get worse.
Yeah, that's probably what I would say too. It's funny, anytime I've ever been in a situation where I'm really frustrated, upset, like, I will have, like, a little period of time, and I say little period, it's usually less than 24 hours, but I usually will give myself some time to pout and stew about it, I get mad, angry about the situation, but then I go into action, like, immediately after that, because for me, activity I was we used to say this, "Activity kills negativity," and in my mind, I know that if I get busy, I don't have time to
Hmm.
dwell on the things I don't like, the things I can't control, that I just get busy. And so that is my motto all the time. In fact, I just had that conversation with my son in the other room because he wasn't feeling well today and he's been going through some stuff. And I said, dude,
Yeah.
you just gotta, you're gonna have to, keep pushing and get up and go, because you're not gonna feel better. You're not gonna feel any better about not doing anything. I think it's just, yeah. And well, and I think, it's really comes down to just going through those hard things. I think the lessons and the hard things that develop the character and the resilience and the grit and all of those things, and there's a whole, that's a whole another gamut of conversation we can get into, right, on rearing kids and stuff. But I think the big message here is really get up, like get moving, do
Get up,
something to
get
change
doing.
your
Yeah,
situation. I think that both of us are resonating that message, that you're the determiner. Your attitude is the
yep,
determiner of where you're
100%.
at right now, and you have the choice every day to do something different and go into action and do something, whether it's getting yourself out of a bad, a painful situation, a relational situation, a career situation, a financial, whatever it is. Do something. Don't just sit in it forever. So I think that's the big takeaway in all of this.
And I would say that when you said before you might have a day or something, I believe that everybody has a time when they're down.
Yeah.
But the secret about, okay, you can be down for a minute, an hour, a day, a week maybe, but don't. The
Right.
secret about not being down is don't stay down.
Right. Right.
You've got to get back up.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, and you were alluding to that,
Yeah.
but that's the whole thing. It's like going to a motivational seminar. Okay, I would tell somebody, hey, listen, if you don't want to hear any foul words, leave now. If you don't want to get up and get going, leave now. If you don't have the ability to reach down and pull yourself up by your own bootstraps,
Yeah.
leave now. Because I can maybe whatever I say may inspire or motivate you for an hour a day, a week, a month. I don't know. But
Yeah.
but eventually it's going to fall back on you
Right. Right.
and you have to do it. And that gets back to if it is to be, it is up to me because and then it's your attitude. It's just it's that continuous cycle
Right.
and that comes from having been through a lot over 3/4 of a century.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Well, and there was something I was gonna add to that about I forgot what it was. It was something good I was thinking about right when you were talking. That's the journeys of being a host on a podcast, because I'm having to pay attention to you guys and think about the next move and how like something good there. But no, I do agree with you. I do think that, to get moving and all of this it really comes down to attitude
yeah.
at the end of the
Yeah.
day. It is. So you said the website on there. We'll make sure when we get the show notes out that we get it in there. That way, anybody wants to pick up the book or follow you, whatever, they can do that. Jay, this has been awesome. I want to wish you continued success. Thank you for your inspiration and all of the words of wisdom. I'm sure that
Yeah.
somebody listening to this is going to get a good, quick, swift. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Put a time limit on that time you need to pout. That's what it was. Put a time limit. If you do have to have
Oh,
that little sulking period, I give myself, you got 24 hours, Jennifer, to pout and sulk and then get off of it. You're over it. That's how it rolls. So that's
well,
what I was
it
going to
is
say.
interestingly that you're saying with your attitude and your comments. I've got my younger sister is 73 or something like that now, and
Okay.
she would say exactly or probably 80% of what I've said. Now she's had a couple of physical issues too, but
Sure.
oh my God, that girl goes, 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 go. And if if she went up and she was up at our farm, she lives down in Florida now most of the time. She was up at the farm and she said that a certain person said, "Well, we have this to do. We can't do that." And she says, "Get a big deal." That's exactly what she
Get
said.
up and
Get up
deal.
and get over it.
I love
Go
it.
do it. I mean,
Awesome.
I'm 22 years older than you are, and I go do it, and I walk 25 miles a day.
That's
It's
awesome.
like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
You
Good
know,
for her.
and that's so it's the same attitude, and
Sure.
it's there,
Right.
but it's a
Right.
lot like yours, a lot like yours, like
Yeah. Good
because you
stuff,
can't.
Jay. Yeah, good stuff. Well, thank you for all of, like I said today, the conversation. Thanks for sharing a
Thank
little bit
you.
about your journey. And I want to wish you continued success with the book. Hopefully, people will pick it up and keep
Hope
continuing
so.
to inspire your community and all those people out there that need to hear the message. It's been
Well,
fun.
maybe later on we can chat again sometime, but thank you very much, Jennifer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of
Okay.
course, to the audience, we do want to say we appreciate you and love you. Hope that you found this episode both inspiring and informative. And if you did, you know what to do. All of the things like, share, comment, right? Do all of that so we can keep sharing all this fabulous content with you. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. Every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.